Welcome! Brandon Rose Smith, live from the Forbidden Library! You can see my chat elements, stream elements, but... Well, there might be a few technical issues today. I'm gonna pre-warn you on that one. I've been playing with my setup a little bit. I've swapped a few things. I have a mic arm now, so my microphone is just floating in front of me on a metallic arm. Which you can hear. Yeah! So yeah, if there's any technical difficulties, that might happen today. I'll do my best. Hopefully everything pans out. Kind of a tester stream for it, because reading streams like this are nice and simple. I don't have to worry about balancing audios and stuff. We have a nice little background and me telling you a story. So, without further ado, let's talk about Dog Star Night, which is the book we're going to be reading. So let me give you a little recap of what's been going on in Dog Star Night. So, Dog Star Night is about a little boy called Benny. Benny not long lost his dog Max. Sad times. And his dog Max would normally protect him from the neighborhood bully. And that now means the dog is gone and the neighborhood bully is on full bully mode. And he gets bullied a lot, but then something very strange happens. This strange, sausage dog with the big floopy ears that is Rainbow shows up with a chihuahua that rides on it, who has a pouch that he can pull anything out of. The rainbow dog can fly. They help pretty much defeat the bully and have fun with Benny and his friends. They go sleighing together on a mountain. Not sleighing as in murdering, sleighing as in snow. And then the dogs invite Benny back to their homeworld. A homeworld which, give or take, may or may not be doggy heaven. Because all the doggies there seem to be doggies that kind of miss their people. And Benny's dog Max is there as well. And they have these little viewing helmet things so they can check on their humans that they left behind. And there's this train and many doggy things. They have a fire hydrant rest up and all the food they could have won. All seem like very happy doggos. And they're all very happy to see Benny too. The rainbow doggo that we came here with is the one in charge. She keeps everything going. She's not quite the queen, she's not quite the ruler, she's the caretaker. And there is another doggo who I said, apparently I was doing it wrong the entire time. I had pronounced their name wrong. The author advised me, and again I need to go find the email to remember how they said to pronounce it. Jim. There are many emails. Boop. 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 Ragil, no Rigel. I was doing it with a good hard G rather than a soft G, apparently. So, Raji, who, I don't know how to explain it. That was this really cool story about him helping some of the first man tribes survive getting hunted by lots of other scary beasts that used to live in the world but don't anymore. And the sniffer dogs helped them get away from it. And this is a really bad explanation. You should just go watch the other streams, okay? I'm doing a terrible job here. I'm butchering this story, so go listen to me read it and then come back here, okay? We'll start off with the last part now. Chapter 15. The Dark Corner. At the center of the park plaza, at the very heart of the observatory, there was a round fountain. Bella approached the fountain, Pup still perched on her back. Benny and Max followed. A mist of water drifted from the fountain and mixed with the light beams streaming down from the dome above. The mist and light combined to create a rainbow arch. The rainbow was brighter than any desert rainbow Benny had ever seen, And desert rainbows were the brightest on Earth, are they? I would like to see a desert rainbow. Bella walked through the arch, not giving the rainbow a second thought. Instead of following, Benny stopped to admire the colours. Have you ever seen anything like this, Maxie? It's almost like you can touch it. Benny reached out into the rainbow, and his hand disappeared into the violet bottom band of the arch. Max licked the band. When it proved flavourless, he snapped at it like it was a bubble. I see. You cannot taste the rainbow. Skittles lied. Pulling his hand out with no consequences, Benny stuck his head into it. All was violet. Benny heard Bella's muffled voice. Please pull your head out of there. Bella and Pup had come back to retrieve him and Max. And whatever you do, don't step in, Bella warned. If you do, there's a good chance you'll never find your way out. Oh God! Now that's ominous. Bella, what are you hiding here? Benny pulled his head out to see Pup frowning at him. Pup's ears were crossed in a manner that was perfectly clear. That's a no-no. Bella nodded towards the arch, which Benny understood to mean, you go first this time. Benny went first, with Max at his side. His two chaperones were close on his heels. As Benny passed under the arch, the rainbow faded to grey. It wasn't just the rainbow. Everything was grey. Benny rubbed his eyes. Everything was still grey. As if the front side of the rainbow had robbed all the colours from its rear side. Only a white brick path stood out in the colourless surroundings. Bella took that path, and Benny stayed very close to her, not wanting to stray into the grey. The white path ended at a dark corner of the park plaza. Bewildered, questions swirled in Benny's head. How could the plaza even have a corner? Like the observatory, it was perfectly round. How could the corner be dark? There were no walls or partitions to block the light. It must be some kind of optical illusion. Maybe a trick done with mirrors? Benny was still trying to make sense of things when Bella approached the corner and stepped into the darkness. Pup was still balanced on Bella's back when she entered. Only now, he was backwards, facing Benny. Right before disappearing, Pup tossed Benny an extra large collar with a yellow leash attached. After strapping the collar around Max's neck, Benny took one step forward. He stopped short of the darkness, gripping Max's leash even more tightly with his left hand. He felt the same jittery fear as the first time he stood on the jump ledge at the Creek Canyon swimming hole, staring down at the dark pool of water 12 feet below. That is actually quite a high diving bit, and I would also be terrified. You got this, Benny. You're braver than I am. No, Benny decided. This was much worse. It was terrifying. If Max and I fall 9,157 feet, accelerating 1 mile per hour every 10 feet, then when we hit the bottom, we'll be travelling... As Benny did the math in his head, the terror dissolved. I don't know how that would dissolve the terror. Honestly, that makes me even more worried. Loosening his grip on the leash, Benny took a deep breath. Well, Max, if we're going to get lost in there, at least we'll be lost together. Benny stepped into the dark unknown, Max at his side. The unknown wasn't dark after all, but a softly lit room. The source of the light was a luminescent crystal orb that floated untethered in the air. The orb illuminated the only other object in the room. That object was a brown tube mounted on a stand. The tube reminded Benny of the cardboard ones from wrapping paper he and Paco used for sword fighting, as is tradition and as is necessary. However, Benny recognized the humble tube as far more than a play sword. It was Galileo's first telescope. Damn. Miss Clark had a replica of Galileo's telescope in her classroom. This telescope looked just like it, except for one thing. Unlike the replica, which had a shiny brown plastic cover, this telescope had a well-worn brown leather wrapping. It was obviously very old. Benny's heart told him that the telescope in front of him was Galileo's original. Benny was about to ask Bella about the telescope when the orb started glowing brighter and expanding. Max reacted, barking, so Benny pulled him closer. Shh, it's okay, boy. It's just a big bubble. It can't hurt us. Oh, can it? I don't know. You're in space. Just before getting so bright that Benny would have to turn away, the white light in the orb separated into colours. The colours took on shapes. First pink and orange blended together to form a sunburned face with rugged lines etched into it. Next, a swirl of red became hair and beard. Finally, blues, yellows and greens decorated the beard with beads. An orb became a crystal ball. The orb became a crystal ball, the head of a red-bearded man inside of it. Did something just happen? I saw my transition go for a minute there. Wait, what? Wait, what? Just gonna double check something. What was I? Oh, I might be seeing things. As I said, there may be technical difficulties. I'm on the lookout for it, but I can't keep looking at it because I need to read. So I'm just keeping an eye out, the corner of my eye. Let me know if anything goes wrong. The man must have had a body too, because two brawny hands appeared and rubbed his two groggy eyes. It was as if he were waking up. The eyes then peered outwards, trying to adjust to viewing the world beyond his fishbowl. Max was baring his teeth, snarling and growling. Oh, Max Protect. The man spoke, his beads rattling as he talked. Well, hello, beautiful Bella. You are as radiant as ever. And mischievous pup, you have not aged a day, and I see you brought a friend and his handsome dog. Falling quiet, Max lay down on all fours, his front paws crossed. His ears perked up attentively. Is that because he got given a compliment? He's like, the way to Max's heart is to be called a handsome good boy. That's the way to a lot of dogs' hearts, to be fair. Whoever the man in the bubble was, he was no threat. Max approved of him, and he got called a good boy. The man turned his full attention to Benny, squinting his now glowing green eyes into the thinnest slits. Benny felt as if the eyes were trying to look inside him. The man's squint broadened into wide-eyed recognition. He spoke again, this time directly to Benny. Benjamin! What a surprise! So much like myself when I was a young man. So much like a babe I once held in my hand. I take it this is Orion. There we go. Benny was baffled, clueless about how the man might know his name. He must have mistaken Benny for someone else. Benny glanced over to see that Bella shared his confusion. although Pup wasn't the least bit surprised. Bella studied the man. "Hello, old friend. I haven't seen you since the Battle of Hillsborough. I trust you are doing well." The man kept his gaze on Benny and chose to respond to him rather than Bella. "Bella is coy. She tests me," he said. "She doubts I am who I am. I did not fight with her at the Battle of Hillsborough, but at the Battle of Hill's Bottom. Oh my, the bottom!" Her ears still bears a scar from that battle, but her back legs, I'm glad to see, have mended well. Bella appeared satisfied. The man had passed her test. "You know me well, beloved chieftain. Doubt is in my nature. After all, so much time. It's wonderful to see you again." Studying Benny ever more closely, the chieftain responded to Bella. "You and Pup have brought Benjamin here to view the globe? Well, you chose to test me, so I choose to test him. Fairness is in my nature." Having said this, the chieftain addressed Benny. "My choice of test is a riddle. Solve my riddle, and you may view the globe." Benny grew anxious. He wished Bella had never doubted the chieftain's identity. Bella knew Benny's anxiety was because of her skepticism. "You don't much like taking tests, do you?" "I hate tests," Benny replied. "I'm not good at them, mostly because I'm a slow reader." Booed. Benny's reply drew a disclosure from Pup. Double, trouble. "Pup has trouble reading too," Bella explained. "When he reads, he sees every word twice, so it takes him twice as long to read a book." Oh damn, that's like 100% worse than any kind of dyslexia. "I don't see double words like Pup. I see scrambled words. It takes a bit of time to unscramble the letters into a word." So Benny definitely has dyslexia. Bella offered Benny some encouragement. At least the chieftain's not asking you to read his riddle." Bella was right. As long as the chieftain spoke the riddle, Benny would have time to figure out the answer. He still wondered, why are grown-ups always testing kids anyway? I don't know, Benny. We expect so much of kids, I don't know. Benny took a deep breath to calm his nerves and waited for the riddle. The chieftain spoke. "When all is lost, what still may be found?" At first, nothing came to Benny's mind. When all is lost, nothing can be found. He didn't rush to give this answer because riddles are always tricky. Benny thought it wise to search his brain for a better answer. That is a very good answer, though. When it struck him, he didn't have to search because the answer was already in his head. When the chieftain presented the riddle, Benny had crossed his fingers behind his back, hoping he knew the answer. Now he realized hope was the right answer. When all is lost, hope can still be found. "Hope," Benny answered. Pleased, the chieftain confirmed Benny's response. "Hope is the answer. Never give up hope, even when all is lost. All seems lost." The chieftain vanished from the crystal ball. Benny asked Bella, "Was that Chieftain Orion?" "I believe it was Orion," Bella answered. "I've never witnessed the globe conjure a human before, so this is a surprise to me. Orion always did say, if you're too old for surprises, you're too old." That's a good line. I like that. I also need a drink. ba. Pup now prompted Benny with a tone of urgency. Hope, hope, scope, scope. Pup was right. Benny should view the globe before Orion changed his mind. Benny unleashed Max and rolled the leash up around his hand. Stay right here with Bella and Pup. Don't wander off. Benny walked up to Galileo's telescope, pointed it at the globe, and looked inside. Oh! What a fancy little machine that is! Fancy and old-timey. Very cool. The Battle of Hill's Bottom. Bottom. Holding the Galileo telescope with two hands, Benny shut his left eye and looked into the lens with his right. The crystal globe shone brightly in the lens. Again, the globe rapidly expanded. However, this time, instead of growing brighter, the globe got darker. There was no avoiding it. A black hole was going to swallow him up. He braced for it, clutching Max's rolled-up leash with all his might. Then, Benny was engulfed by darkness. After a few seconds, white specks appeared overhead. At first, Benny thought they were stars. Thousands of them, until he realized the specks were falling. One fell cold upon his face. They were snowflakes. Benny was no longer viewing, but experiencing. He was in the globe, and what was in the globe was real. Benny now stood in the middle of a snow-covered encampment at the bottom of a hill. As a full moon broke out from behind the clouds, reflecting off all the snow on the ground, it was more like twilight than night. Benny could now take a full measure of his situation. Paco, Dinah, Bella and Pup were with him. Max was not. Their encampment was under attack from an enemy holding the hilltop. You mean the bully? You mean the bully? This is the scene. This is the scene where Bella and Pup dealt with DJ the bully. Or at least a very dramatic recreating of it. All, including Benny, had taken up fighting, positioned in a semicircle facing the hill, their backs to a raging bonfire. Their situation was dire. "Compadres!" Paco said in a resolute voice. "There's nowhere to retreat. We must make our stand here." The camp's outer perimeter was being defended by Miss Clark and her science class. Benny's classmates were all wearing heavy armour, like knights, and, with their lances, were trying to fend off attacking wolves. Most had been knocked over and were squirming on their backs in the snow. Instead of warriors, they looked like kids making snow angels. Miss Clark ordered, "Fall back!" The few who remained standing then obediently fell on their backs. As in literally. Fall back, make snow angels. Poof. The fight Benny always feared was here. Paco was right. There was nowhere to retreat. Benny had ignited the bonfire, the signal for help. All he could do was wait. He watched the glowing embers climb into the sky, hoping they'd reached high enough to be seen. "Show no mercy!" The battle cry thundered down from the hilltop, where DJ stood next to his wolf head banner. The moonlight reflected brightly off his wolf skull helmet and chain metal armor. Over his head, he was waving a long spear tipped with black razor sharp onyx tiger tooth. Hades, DJ commanded. Attack with your goon wolves. Slaughter them all. Oh, damn. This is getting real. The huge goon wolf standing at the head of the formation must have been Hades. He thrust his black spear into the air and the goon wolves went on the attack. Spears in hand, the goons surged past the vanquished science class knights and joined the wolves to press the assault against those around the bonfire. A spear flashed past Benny, the tip slicing his cheek. Benny could taste blood flowing into his mouth. Oh no! This is getting bad. Out of the corner of his eye, Benny caught a glimpse of Paco chuckling. That's gonna sting, mi amigo. In his left hand, Paco held a round oak shield with 2 spears embedded in it. All seemed lost. When Bella put her curved tail into the fire, then she pulled it out. It was aflame. Paco, grab the handle! Take the saber! Bella implored. Together! To battle! Paco reached for the handle on Bella's hip and pulled. The blade slid out, as if Paco was drawing it from its scabbard. The blade was glowing blue, the hottest colour, while Paco's face was glowing more violet. Paco attacked with the saber, cutting wolves down with lightning flashes of fire. Bella inflated herself, not with helium, but with courage. Bella flew past Paco, dodged 3 spears, and sank her teeth into Hades. By sheer will, Bella lifted the heavy beast 25 feet into the air and dropped him. 25 feet wasn't high enough. As the snow padded Hades' impact, Hades bounced up, his black spear still in hand, and hurled it at Bella. The spear punched through her right ear. She yelped and fell to the ground, injured. Paco fought furiously, but his sword drew its strength from Bella. With her tumble, the blade lost its spark. Paco ran towards where Bella lay in the snow. Hades was standing over her, his bloodied spear back in his hand. Snarling, the giant goon wolf bared his long, vicious fangs and cursed Bella. How dare you, filthy flea bag, challenge me with your pitiful, puny teeth? Paco was in a desperate race for Bella's life. As Hades raised his spear over his head, Paco cranked his saber back. Just as the goon thrust downwards, Paco whipped the saber forward, spinning it out of his hand. Hades crumpled down, his spear missing Bella. Paco's saber stuck in his side. Paco had won the race. His prize was 20 seconds. Now, coming straight for him was an onslaught of goon wolves, enraged at having witnessed him strike down their captain. Swordless, Paco prepared to fight the wolves with his bare fists. A spear cut across Paco's right arm, another plunging into his left leg. Paco fell to the ground, awaiting the next stab, the one that would finish him off. It didn't come. Instead, the wolves began falling on the ground next to him, struck down by sharp projectiles. Dinah had bolted from her position next to Benny and charged forward to aid Bella and Paco. Pup was with her, his pouch opened up. Pup was passing Dinah daggers. What is going on now? This is cool, I won't lie, but now Dinah's murdering people. I don't know. Just as fast as she could throw them, Dinah wasn't missing. Every throw a strike. Along with the wolves, the goon wolves began reacting in panic. Dinah advanced to where Bella and Paco lay on the ground. Bella was in bad shape. Her ear was bleeding, and hips were awkwardly twisted. "She's still alive! I don't know who was talking then, I don't know what voice to do. "She's still alive, just dazed. I think her back legs are broken," Paco grimly told Dinah. "I don't think she can stand up, let alone walk." Dinah tried to pick up Bella, with Pup helping as best he could. Paco couldn't help at all. His right arm hung limp at his side. With his left hand, Paco was trying to hold back blood from a deep puncture wound in his thigh. Dinah and Pup succeeded in moving Bella only a few feet. With resignation in his voice, Paco urged Dinah. "You and Pup should fall back to the bonfire. The wolves fear the fire and won't go near it. You should reinforce Benny. I'll stay with Bella. I don't think I can walk anyway." Dinah and Pup responses blended into one emphatic, "No way! Nay, nay!" Even from his position back at the bonfire, Benny could hear DJ belittling his retreating troops. "Cowards! Afraid of a little girl and a puppy! You're pathetic!" Benny knew the battle was far from over. DJ had yet to call forward his most elite troops, the armoured, long-clawed bears. DJ now gave that order. "Bears! Come to the front! Finish them off! Cut them to bits!" God. This is a bit. Dozens of bears poured down from the hilltop, clad in helmets and armoured chest plates. DJ shouted to his panicked wolves, "Reinforcements are coming! Reform your ranks behind the bears!" The wolves rallied behind the bears, relieved to find cover from Dinah's daggers. Followed in the rear, DJ taunted Dinah. "You know what bears love to eat more than fish eaters? Little rat girls! My bears will feast tonight!" The full force of DJ's army was bearing down on Dinah. Dinah tossed another dozen daggers, all bouncing harmlessly off the bear armor and leaving only dents. Out of daggers, Pup passed Dinah a spreading knife. Dinah would have to make her defiant last stand with a knife better suited for making peanut butter and prickly pear jelly sandwiches. There was a rumbling howl that had been growing louder, and now the howl reached a fever pitch. A pack of hounds broke out of the darkness and charged past Benny, who was now all by himself at the bonfire. The lead hound was Max. Benny had never seen Max run faster, racing frantically to reach Dinah before DJ's bears got to her. But even Max's fastest was not fast enough. Benny judged the bear was a second ahead. Max must have made the same conclusion. Breaking his stride, Max drew his 4 long legs tightly together and launched himself into the air from 30 feet away. Max became a blur and smashed into the chest armor of the bear, whose claws were inches from slicing Dinah to pieces. The bear was blown off its feet and tumbled into the wolves behind it, knocking them down like bowling pins. Max's pack rushed full speed into the breach. The hounds charged into the battlefield, into the chaos. Spears flew. The bears flared out their 8-inch razor claws and struck at the dogs, while the wolves and hounds snapped at each other with bared teeth. The hounds fought bravely, but they were no match for the armoured bears and spear-wielding goon wolves. The hounds were beaten. Max broke out from the melee and made a charge towards DJ. to where DJ was watching the battle from a safe distance, like the coward he is. 1 second. Gotta keep that voice hydrated for this intenseness. Let me turn myself down a little bit. Like I said, still getting used to this new setup. Anyway. Max broke out from the melee segment of distance. Evading DJ's 2 goon wolves bodyguards, Max lunged at him. With a swing of his spear, DJ knocked Max unconscious to the ground. DJ grabbed Max by the tail and yelled ahead, "Hold off! I want to finish this mangy mutt with the other stinking animals." Oh, he just gets worse. He just gets worse. DJ dragged Max to where the bears and wolves had surrounded Dinah. Packer, Bello, and Pup, his troops parted to let him through the encirclement. DJ tossed Max next to where Paco and Bella lay bleeding on the ground. Nearby, Dinah was still standing. She was being poked and prodded by the spears of the goon wolves she'd humiliated, many still with daggers stuck in them. Seeing DJ toss Max, she shouted at him, "Benny's not afraid of you! He'll kick your butt!" DJ walked over to Dinah, punched her in the stomach, and kicked her legs out from under her. What a poo-poo head. Dinah collapsed to the ground. "Why isn't he out here protecting you?" DJ sneered. "He's a coward. Says you, Mr. Hiding and watching from a distance. A scaredy rat." For Benny, the waiting was agony. It took every ounce of willpower not to charge into the battlefield. Benny kept asking himself, where is he? What's keeping him? He wondered if something had gone wrong. Time was running out. Finally, there was a nudge at Benny's right hand. And it was Reggie. Yes, I totally didn't have to check that again. What you want about? Reggie trailed behind Max's pack, unable to keep the fast pace because of his old injury. Rigel spoke in Orion's ancient language. "Here's your arrow." Benny understood him perfectly. Strapped to Rigel's back was a bow and a quiver that held just a single arrow. This arrow was unlike any other. It was far more powerful. Its metal tip was forged with 4 razor-sharp blades instead of the normal 2. The blades were coated with flammable tar oil, and the arrow had been hollowed out. Metal shaft filled with explosive powder. Oh no, that's a kaboom stick! Benny had built the arrow himself, never kidding himself about what a bully was capable of. He'd prepared for the worst. He'd pulled the arrow from its quiver, knowing he had no choice. The arrow was his last resort. Its tip pointed up. Benny lifted the arrow over his head and twirled it in his fingers. "Hurry! There's no time!" Rigel urged in Orion's language. Benny not only understood Rigel's words, but the desperate tone behind them. "Why are you hesitating?" "I'm not hesitating. I'm calculating," Benny replied. "The wind's tricky. I need quiet." Benny spoke in Orion's original language. And in that language, I need quiet and be quiet were the same word. Rigel quietly got down on all fours to be out of Benny's way. So he could misinterpret it for him being really harsh. Yeah, hold up. Clearing all thoughts from his mind, Benny now acted instinctively. He loaded the arrow quickly onto the bow, No easy task, since the bow had 2 extra strings to launch the heavier arrow. Oof. I've pulled bows before, and usually they're lighter bows because I'm a weak noodle armed person. But I couldn't imagine trying to pull back 2 taut strings. Oof, that's gotta have. Benny's got some upper arm strength. Benny twisted around and pulled its tip into the bonfire. The tar oil arrowhead ignited. In the distance, in the center of the encirclement, Benny saw the wolf head banner being waved victoriously, high in the air. He heard DJ proclaiming the spiteful words stitched into the banner. "All to the strong! Devour the weak!" The wolves howled and bears roared approval when DJ flung Dinah down by her hair onto the ground next to the others. Drool dripped from their mouths. They were hungry for their feast. "Benny, it's now or never," Rigel urged, unable to keep quiet any longer. True heart, true aim. The arrow's tip was glowing blue. Benny drew back on the 3 strings. 3 strings? I thought it said 2. About 2 extra strings. Oh! So 3 strings. Damn. I refer to what I said to before. Upper arm strength. Aimed and loosed the arrow. The strings vibrated a 3-note harmony as the arrow flew. The music ended in a piercing metallic screech as the hot arrowhead seared through DJ's chain metal vest. DJ just stood stunned in disbelief. Hot gases hissed out from the puncture. The gases erupted like a volcano, sending molten metal shards whistling every which way. The bear's heavy armor offered no protection. The sizzling shrapnel stuck in their armor with such ferocity that it set off a chain reaction of molten metal eruptions. Benny felt a blast of heat blow past his face. A terrible, empty feeling hit him inside. How could anyone survive such hellish flames? He wondered. His sister, his best friend, Bella and Pup, all lost in the inferno. Then Benny remembered Orion's words. Never give up hope, even when all seems lost. Benny turned to Rigel for that hope. If there's anything you can do, I beg you do it now. Benny spoke in Orion's language. Rigel looked skyward and recited an ancient chant. O shepherd dear, we implore you, shine your light. Hold it high and bright. Lead our brave ones safely to keep our sight. Keep them near, hold them dear. Return them to their loved ones here. Benny had no clue what the clanling might be when a ragtag formation of knights rattled out of the haze of their mangled, soot-coated armor, casting no shadows. Their clanging knights were followed by Max's hounds, many wounded and limping. The knights and hounds were marching proudly together. Guiding the march through the thick smoke and steam was the shadowy shape of a shaggy dog. The dog was waving a long staff high in the air, with a blue and yellow banner streaming from it. At the top of the staff was a brilliant lantern that illuminated the banner's colours. Benny rubbed his eyes to focus better on the shaggy shadow, but in the instant it took, the shadow was gone. Most likely, it was never there. Benny thought an illusion playing on his eyes from smoke, dust, and steam from the battlefield? Max emerged at last, the captured wolf head banner clenched in his teeth. Max dropped the wolf head banner on the ground and gave out a howl. Howl of victory! His hound pack broke formation and tore the banner to shreds. Yeah! Dinah and Miss Clark set Bella down gently next to where Benny was standing with Rigel. Pup popped out of the folds on Bella's back and yelped, "Help, help! Heal, heal! Seal, seal!" Pup peeled off his patches, and the patches were field bandages. Pup passed out the bandages to Rigel, Miss Clark, and the science students. Rigel tended to Bella and Paco, while Miss Clark and her students skillfully applied field dressings to the injured hounds. Pup pulled an ice bag out of his pouch and gave it to Benny. Benny pressed the ice to Max's head. The haze had now lifted completely, and Benny surveyed the battlefield. There was only scorched earth where the snow had been, and that all that remained on the battlefield was shreds of wolf head banner. Other than that, it was as if the bully and his gang of thugs had never existed. Were they literally reduced to ash? What? Benny pulled away from the telescope, disoriented and dizzy. He wasn't sure where he was or when he was. Suddenly the dark corner vanished, erased by a flood of light. Galileo's telescope disappeared too. Benny heard Bella's voice reassuring him. "It's okay, Benny. We're back in the observatory. The hill's bottom battle is over." Either Bella had read his mind or watched the battle as it took place in the globe. She knew what Benny had experienced. The telescope placed you in the Battle of Hill's Bottom, a battle fought long ago against Schoonwolf cruelty. It was Orion's single arrow that turned the battle's tide. It felt so real. It felt like I was there, Benny said. Why was I shooting the arrow and not Orion? Bella answered. The telescope senses what's inside. It senses that you share Orion's courage and wisdom. Perhaps that's why Orion recognized you. Sorry. Benny had his doubts. I'm not a warrior like Orion. I don't even like fighting. Dinah was more of a warrior than me. The telescope must be wrong. Bella persisted. The telescope is never wrong. Orion's courage is yours. Orion was much more than a warrior. He was a protector. A protector acts with wisdom and holds true to what is right, even in the face of great danger. Orion inspired others to do what's right, and you have his spirit. Pup had been listening to the whole time, and the last words. True, true, you. Oh. That's the sword on Bella's fur. That's cool. Very nice, very shiny, very cool. Tales of the Dog Park. Oh, I think I need a small break for a minute because that was intense. I couldn't help but quite. So I'm guessing the telescope did that thing that like people's dreams do, where like it got filled in with familiar things that Benny knows about to fill in the parts of people that he doesn't know. And that's why we had a dramatic retelling of the fight with TJ, but not. Oh, how history repeats, but one is a playground fight and the other was a bloody battle with explosions and God knows what else. Wild. Absolutely wild. Chapter 17. Tales of the Dog Park. When Benny exited the observatory, he felt dizzy and disoriented again. The world outside seemed to be slowly spinning. Adjusting, Benny realized the spinning sensation wasn't imaginary. The observatory was rotating slowly. It was one giant merry-go-round. After a minute, there was a mechanical click, just like Paco's back gate locking tightly in place. The rotation stopped. Benny had no landmarks to judge by, so guessed the observatory had turned a full 160 degrees. We're exiting onto the second outdoor level, Bella explained. I thought you would enjoy seeing this most of all, Benny. Benny distinctly remembered that when he first entered the observatory, there was only one step up. He had taken that single step with Max at his side. Now there were 2 steps down. The reflecting pool, the gazebo, and the vast field surrounding them were gone, replaced with an awesome dog park. A dog never comes to the observatory without a stop at the park, Bella said. Bella descended the two steps and led Benny and Max to an overlook where a grand old oak tree shaded a bench. Pup had hopped off Bella's back and was following behind the group. He was walking backwards. Benny didn't ask why. Pup is very strange. Probably just does these things. The overlook gave a good view of the entire park, which had every kind of dog play structure imaginable. Ramps, slides, seesaws, tunnels, fences, and much more. There were thousands of dogs in the dog park. Benny sat down on the bench and Max settled at his feet. Pup curled up on Benny's lap. Benny was petting Pup's head when he noticed the hourglass patch on his back had been flipped over. It was now more full than empty. All were enjoying the rambunctious chaos when Bella remarked, "Have you ever seen so many different sizes and shapes?" Benny could tell Bella wasn't expecting an answer, so she continued with her thought. Such variety, from Great Danes to dogs that almost fit in your hand. Benny had a tidbit to share. The world's smallest dog is a Pomeranian named Millie. Millie weighs less than a pound and is under 3 inches tall. Really? I'm excuse me while I Google this. I want to see Millie the Pomeranian. I need to see it. Millie the Pomeranian. 3 inches tall. I want a picture. Oh my god! She's so small. Let me show you. Oh, I can do this. I know. There we go. This is Millie. This is how small Millie is. It's adorable. He's so small. How could it exist? Ah! Anyway, after that distraction. Wow, that is tiny. Even for a Pomeranian. Bella pronounced Pomeranian slowly, bisyllable, trying to gently nudge Benny towards the proper pronunciation. He went Pomeranian. Pomeranian. I thought there was something a bit weird about that. Benny still heard Pomeranian. Convinced that it was the most appropriate name for a dog that fits in the palm of your hand. That's fair. Did you read about Millie in the Almanac of Earth Records? Bella asked. Benny was about to answer when suddenly a frisbee hovered just over his head, followed by a white streak. The streak made a 180-degree spin and snatched the frisbee from midair. Pup exclaimed, "Jess, Jess, best, best! Fetch, fetch, catch, catch!" Excited by the athletics, Pup jumped off Benny's lap and darted into the field, frantically barking, "Arf, arf! Yip, yip! Yip, yip!" Pup's yapping caught Jess's attention, and she whirled the frisbee from her mouth towards Pup. Honestly, incredibly impressive for a dog. The throw was too high, or Pup was too small. Either way, the frisbee flew way over Pup's head. Also, Benny thought, Pup's right ear stretched high into the air and poked the frisbee, holding it while it was still spinning. Pup juggled the spinning disc from his right ear to his left and tossed it to Benny, who was still sitting on the bench. Benny caught it and zipped it back to jump in Jess. Oh, fun was on. The frisbee made 10 circuits before Jess's 11th throw spun off Pup's ear and tumbled into the ground, landing upside down. Pup cried out, "Uh-oh, uh-oh, oh no, oh no," and collapsed next to the frisbee, humiliated. Pup bent his ears over his eyes. It was a good thing too, as Pup didn't have to witness the glare of disappointment Jess had shot him. Benny had blown a point-blank goal shot in a youth league football game last year, so he sympathized with Pup's sick feeling of shame. Still, Benny had to give himself a mental pat on the back. He'd handled his miss far more gracefully than Pup. Jess trotted over to the fallen frisbee, picked it up, and headed off into the field. Her time playing with amateurs was over. Well, we thank Jess for her time dealing with us amateurs. Pup returned to the bench, his ears perked back up, and the frisbee incident already forgotten. As Pup settled back into Benny's lap, Bella said, "You know, tomorrow is a big day here in the star realm. Tomorrow is the Around the Moon race." Benny had never heard of the Around the Moon race, so Bella explained. "Each year, in the winter, when my home star is closest to your moon, we have a race starting at Mars, looping around the moon, and then heading back to the Earth's northern horizon. The dark side of the moon is very tricky. It's an agility course with jumps and slaloms. Being the fastest doesn't matter. The dogs must be able to stop on a dime and head in the other direction in a flash. If they go too fast, they'll fly off course or miss an obstacle. Either way, they're disqualified." Sounds like an adventure. This sounded very exciting to Benny, who wanted to know, "Are you in the race? Is Max very fast? And agile too?" Max is very fast and agile too. He's not asking a question. He knows. "I'm not in the race. Rigel and I are judges," Bella answered. "Max is in the race, and there's a story behind his entry. Usually, only specialty dogs qualify for the race. Dogs with exceptional speed and agility. Greyhounds and windhounds are the fastest dogs. Border collies are the most agile dogs. Max is a family dog with no special training. It's rare for a family dog to qualify." Benny was now even more excited. "Does Max have a chance of beating the dogs with special skills? Can I come back tomorrow to watch?" "All the qualifying dogs have a chance to win," Bella responded. "But Max is a long shot. He's the underdog. No family dog has ever won the race. A silken windhound named Capella is the favourite. She's won 4 years in a row. She has a beautiful sleek shape and silk coat that allows her to slip through the air. Jumping Jess, the frisbee dog, has a good chance. She's fast and agile and can jump. Whoop whoop, splash splash! Pup was still in Benny's lap, listening. Pup wants me to tell you about the new obstacle. This year's course is of course the most difficult we ever had. We've added a final jump over a 12-foot wall with pools of water on both sides. The pool on approach is very deep. The jump must be started before reaching it. The pool on the other side is shallow. If the dog fails to clear the rear pool, it can recover, but it will be soaked, and a dog with wiry hair like Max dries more quickly than a dog with long hair like Capella. It will be a most interesting race this year. Bella let more time pass for Benny to enjoy, watching the dogs at play. Their unbound joy prompted Benny to ask, "Is the star around dog heaven? Will Max be here forever?" Benny expected Bella to answer with a question, as she so often did, and he was halfway right. This isn't dog heaven. How could it be? Something is missing. Benny knew immediately what Bella meant. People are missing. Someday all the dogs here will reunite with their people, Max included. That was Bella's full answer. So wait, is this like dog purgatory then? Oh, what's going on, model? Come back, there we go. Yeah. So this is like dog purgatory, where they wait for their humans to die so they can go to heaven together? Question mark. I don't know how to feel about that. I've never had a dog, so I don't know. I did like my next door's dogs though, and there was one. We had a little Jack Russell called Barnaby Ruffkins. We called him Barney for short, obviously. And so this is the closest I ever got to actually owning a dog, was we had to keep him for when they went on holiday and they had to stay in our house, and I was the only one that Barney really knew, so he had to sleep in my room and I had to look after him, take him on all his walks and things like that. But the thing is, Barney didn't know my family very well, so he'd be asleep in my room, and then as soon as someone came upstairs, he'd be like, "Woof, woof, 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 woof," and trying to protect me from my own family. And I was like, "Barney, please stop. I want to sleep. I love you. Thank you for trying to protect me. But 1, you are tiny. And 2, they are my family." It was fun. Little Barney. Benny sensed time was up when Pup climbed from Benny's lap onto Bella's back. Max stood up and again licked Benny on the face. Bella hadn't answered Benny's question about coming back tomorrow to watch the race, so he asked again. Smiling, Bella answered, "There's no need to come back. The race is visible from Earth for those who look up at the exact right moment. Where you live in the desert, the race will occur at 7:22 in the evening. That's exactly when the moon will be closest to my star." Benny had one last question, and it took all of his strength to ask it without showing a single tear. "Will I ever see you again?" This time it was Bella who couldn't hold back tears. "Pup will keep an eye out for you until the time comes you're reunited with Max. Then we'll see each other again. You must understand that my travel to Earth has limits. I can only travel in the winter, when the dog star is in the night sky. Being on Earth drains my energy. I can only stay for a short time." Pup opened his pouch and took out a handkerchief and wiped away Bella's tears. Benny found himself comforting her. "You and Pup must always help those most in need. I will be fine from now on. I know. If I stand with my family and friends, I can beat back any bully. Bella smiled at Benny. It's time to say goodbye to Max. Pup and I need to get on your way home. Get you on your way home. Benny felt no sadness, only appreciation. Bella had been more than true to her word. He'd spent hours with Max, not minutes, giving Max one last scratch on the head. Benny said, You be a good boy. Don't give Bella any trouble. And tell Rigel I said goodbye next time you see him. Pointing to the playground, he added, I've got to go. You stay, and play. Max acknowledged Benny with a woof. Woof woof. And bounded off into the park, wagging his tail in search of jumping Jess. Ah, fuzzy wuzzy boy. Fuzzy wuzzy boy. Very cute. Very pretty. Aw, gotta go to boring old Earth again after the dog bit. Happy Sunday, Palmstar. Hello. You missed a dramatic and bloody battle that I really can't get over that was in this book. I really can't. Apparently it was a flashback to a battle that happened a long time ago, but yeah. Got to see it. Bonkers. Chapter 18, Steps Towards Home. Bella backtracked from the playground bench, up 2 steps onto the observatory's majestic portico. Pup wasn't on Bella's back, but trailing far behind. Yeah, you'll need to. There's been that was a chapter. You'll definitely need to watch the VOD. Again, Pup was walking backwards. Benny watched as Pup carefully placed each paw where he'd previously stepped when going to the playground. Why is Pup walking backwards? Benny asked Bella. Bella answered, I can't even venture a guess. He does this every so often. Pup's just weird like that. Not expecting any sensical answer, Benny took a chance and asked, Pup, why are you walking backwards? Pup replied, Backtrack, track back. Ah, Pup, you make no sense. Benny accepted he might never know if Pup was walking backwards just for the fun of it, or because it was necessary to hold the universe together. Just don't know. He has the universe in his pocket. Why not? Once Pup had backed into place, Bella informed Benny about the steps they would take to get him back home. The outside of the observatory has 5 levels. You've already seen the first level. That's where we landed, and where the gazebo and reflecting pool are. We were just at level 2, the playground level. You'll be leaving from level 5, but before we go there, I need to stop at level 3. What do you need, Bella? The observatory started to spin again, and Benny decided to ask Bella about its rotation. Does the observatory spin in a full circle? Does a step get added after each spin? Bella answered, after a full spin in the clockwise direction, a step to a new level gets added. After a full spin in a counterclockwise direction, a step is taken away. The observatory was still in motion when Benny asked, just how long does a full turn take? Bella's response was surprising. It takes no time at all. As the observatory turns, time outside portico is frozen. It's Pup's invention. A second is never wasted waiting for the next step. That's very strange. Just then, the observatory latched into place on level 3. Bella hopped down the steps into the new level with Pup on her back. Benny caught up, and all three entered into a planetarium. The room was dark, and the vast domed ceiling was lit with stars, planets, and a large crescent moon, which shined most brightly. A gentle female voice called out from the darkness. "We're closed today, loves." Ah, I was warned there was an actual British doggo in here, and that the author was quite excited for a British person to be talking it, so I will do my utmost to be as British as possible for a minute. "We're closed today, loves. All the dogs know this. If you're here to pinch a prime spot, I'll have none of it. You'll have to come back early tomorrow." The light on Benny's engineering cap activated. He pointed its beam in the direction of the voice, illuminating a shaggy sheepdog. The dog was either grey with white markings or white with grey markings. Benny couldn't decide which. The fur on the dog's head cascaded over its eyes, so the dog couldn't see a thing. The dog's left eye had grey fur flopped over it, while the right had white. There are definitely some British accents I can't do, that is for sure. There's a lot of them. We are a small island, but Lord, do we have many accents. Benny supposed that working in a dark planetarium, sight wasn't so important. "Essie, it's me, Bella," Bella announced. "I thought I'd stop by and check on how things were before the big race tomorrow. Are you ready for the madness?" Essie shook her head vigorously to flip the fur out from her eyes. "Bella! Pup! Jolly good to see you. I thought you might drop by today. Everything's hunky-dory, bee's knees. Blankets are spread out, plenty of food and water. I'm ready for the howling horde." "Benny, I'd like you to meet Essie," Bella said. "She's an English sheepdog. She's in charge of the planetarium. Every dog in the star realm will be here tomorrow to watch the around-the-moon race. It'll be jam-packed. Essie shuts the planetarium down for the day before the big event to get everything ready." Essie raised her paw, and Benny bent down and shook it. "Essie, this is Benny," Bella continued the introduction. "Benny's from Earth. He's Max's person." Essie shook her head in disbelief. Her fur now flopped again in front of her eyes. "You mean Fast Max? Who's in the race tomorrow?" Bella answered, "Yes." "It's wonderful to meet you, Benny," Essie said, her now wide open eyes visible again. "I'm cheering for Max tomorrow. Most dogs here are. Some dog needs to knock that diva Capella down a peg. Humble Max is just the lad to do it." And you thought you were quite the celebrity here," Bella said to Benny, laughing. Bella asked Essie, "Do you mind if Benny takes a peek inside the night sky? He's leaving soon, so this is his only chance. He'll only be a minute." "Any person or Max can linger as long as they like. As long as they don't linger like a fart," Essie answered. His cap's beam pointed the way. Benny wandered deeper into the planetarium. There were blankets spread out on a perfectly manicured grass lawn. Among the patchwork of blankets, Benny's beam spotted water fountains and red and blue kibble dispensers. Beef and fish would be on the menu tomorrow. Benny clicked his cap light off and looked up. The crescent moon was bright, but not so bright that it masked any of the stars. What shined above surpassed the star count on even the clearest, darkest desert nights. Even more wondrous than the stars But the planets, they appeared closer. Venus and Mars looked like he could pluck them from the sky. Benny could make out the rings of Saturn and the storm spot on Jupiter. Uranus and Neptune had such clarity. Benny could make out their colours too. Benny was still looking up when Pup said, "Trick, trick, treat, treat." Pup wants to tell you about All Dogs Howling Night. All Hallowed Eve, All Dog Howling Night, Bella said before elaborating on Pup's drivelling speak. Just as all dogs come here to watch the Around the Moon race, they all come here again in October for Howling Night. If the sky is clear on a full moon night in October, dogs on Earth and dogs in the star realm can hear each other howl. I don't think even Pup knows why this phenomena occurs, but it does. Pup repeated, "Trick, trick, treat, treat." I see, so that's why doggies would be howling at nothing on Halloween. Now you don't have to be scared. Now you know it's something cool. They're howling to the dogs on the star realm. After nodding to Pup, Bella added, "I didn't tell you everything. Pup wanted me to. On All Dogs Howling Night, Pup fills his pouch with tricks and treats and passes them to the howling dogs. Just the dogs that howl the loudest get the best treats. Grumpy dogs who refuse to howl get tricks. Pup will give them what looks like a delicious meat bone, but when they bite into it, it pops like a bubble." Oh, that is mean. "Max loves chasing down bubbles," Benny said. "You could blow 10 bubbles into the air and none would escape his chomp." "Most dogs love popping bubbles," Bella agreed. "And that's the problem with Pup's trick. It ends up being a treat." As Bella walked out of the planetarium, Pup up on her back, Benny decided to leave the light on his cap off and walk out backwards. Since he'd been guided this way out by looking up at the stars, it didn't really matter which way his eyes faced. Benny fixed his eyes on Bella's star and shuffled out. As he was doing so, Essie shouted out, "Jolly good fun, eh, lad? Walking backwards in the dark. I taught Pup to walk backwards and navigate by the stars. He often walks backwards now, just for the fun of it." A mystery Benny was certain he'd take to his grave was solved. It was replaced by a new one, a mystery about dogs howling between realms on an October full moon night. Backing his last step out of the planetarium, Benny gave a hearty, accented shout-out, "Cheerio!" to Essie. It was the most English word Benny knew. Points for try. It is very, very English. Good old cheerio. So long, very well. Pip, pip, cheerio. We'll be back soon. I don't know that from. Oh yeah, that's from Oliver. Can't remember. Once out, the observatory began its timeless spin down to level 5. As the observatory made its first turn, Benny asked Bella about Essie. "What's Essie's home star? She's so different from Rigel, Hercules, and Antreus." Essie's home star is known in the star realm as the Shepherd's Star, Bella answered. "But on Earth it has a different name. Some call it the Christmas Star. Some call it the Star of David." Hello, Blinky. Glad you're enjoying the book. "Some call it the Guiding Star. It's Essie's star that guided the Maggie to Bethlehem." Oh, well, she has a very important star, doesn't she? Recalling his glimpse of the shadowy, shaggy dog who carried the yellow and blue banner, Benny asked Bella, Was Essie at the Battle of Hill's Bottom? Bella gave one of her cryptic responses that left the answer up to the questioner. Only if you believe she was. I hate it when people do that to me. Just give me an answer. Just then, the observatory latched onto the 4th level. We'll not be getting off here at all, Bella said, as the observatory moved again. This level is just for dogs. Pup built it. Dogs come here on their birthdays. They can choose any age they want to be for that day. It's Pup's birthday gift to them. Most dogs choose to be 2 or 3 years old and then head up to the playground level for the day. Oh, that's very cool. Be young for the day. When the observatory began spinning again, Benny asked Bella, "What exactly is on level 5? Bella answered, "I don't know all of the specifics. From what I've been able to gather from Pup, it's amazing. I've yet to see it for myself. Pup's been rather secretive about it, the whole project. He's even given it a code name. Granite Mountain?" Just as Bella finished telling Benny what she knew, the Granite Mountain project clicked into place. Oh! Very cute. I don't think that has anything... Was that anything to do with the chapter? No, I don't think it was. It's very cute, though. I'll hide that with the glasses. Quick drink before the next chapter. It does look like the little cat in the box. Correct. I do have me water. Indeed, indeed. Chapter 19. Blast off to the bottom of the sea. Why are we going to the bottom of the sea? What? Along with Bella and Pup, Benny stepped into the 5th level. A cavernous chamber. A blue glow filtered down from above, reflecting off the chamber's pink walls. With each reflection, the glow changed shades, until it became a soft purple, where Benny stood at the bottom. With his first few steps, Benny tested the chamber floor. The floor had a sandpaper texture, similar to the Mrs. Bubbles and Mr. Juggles decals at the bottom of the Benny's tub at home. There was no risk of slipping. Benny walked over to the nearest wall and rubbed his thumb against it. It was cold and perfectly smooth. The wall was polished stone. Pup's codename now made sense. Some kind of specialized tunneling machine had carved out come on. Kindle! Had carved out a geometrically perfect cylinder. In a pink granite mountain. What didn't make any sense about the Granite Mountain project was the cylindrical chamber's blue ceiling. Whatever was above was not sky, as it sloshed around like water. Benny could detect no visible barrier holding the water back. Wow! This is ingenious, Pup! Bella exclaimed, balancing Earth's ocean waters against the star realm's helium to create a portal. This truly is an engineering marvel. What? So it's helium keeping... Why did they use so much helium? Why is this planet so explosive? Benny was right. He detected no barrier above, because there was no barrier. Helium pressure in the chamber was holding the water back. No one lighted a cigarette or anything, because you will not survive. Thrilled by her compliment, Pup bounced up and down, pointing both ears towards the chamber's centre, so Bella could fully appreciate the full magnitude of his granite mountain project. There, a colossal, glistening white rock stood erect. The way back home was going to be nothing like the way there. The chamber was a rocket launch silo. Pup exuded pride. Yeah, Jupiter would make a lot of sense, the amount of helium. Go wise. Boom, boom, zoom, zoom! Benny quickly grasped exactly what hung above, and exactly where Pup's rocket would boom, boom, zoom, zoom off to. Is that the bottom of the ocean above us? Is the way back to Earth through the bottom of the ocean in a rocket? Benny wasn't so much asking his question as expressing disbelief. Nevertheless, Bella answered, not just back to Earth, but right back to your home. All water on Earth connects to the ocean, so once we get you into the ocean, you can travel wherever there's water. I don't think that's how it works, but I wish that's how it works. Just jump in a lake and, I don't know, go to Bahamas. Get some sun, get some holiday. Benny now gave a long, serious look at the rocket booster. A bubble was balanced high atop the rocket's silver needle nose tip. It looked no sturdier than the ones exhaled by Mrs. Bubbles, the bathtub fish. The kind made by mixing dish soap and corn syrup with water, the kind Max loved to chomp on. Staring at the bubble, Benny sought to confirm his suspicions. So, I'm guessing the three of us are going to be launched in that flimsy bubble on top of that massive rocket into the bottom of the ocean. Oh no, not the three of us, Bella answered. Pup and I can't travel back with you. There's only room in the bubble pod for one. Benny accepted his fate, as it made sense to him. Yes, I'm absolutely okay with being stranded in the ocean. I don't know how this is going to work. What kind of wonderful magic am I about to witness? Travelling home was a journey Benny needed to make on his own. Perhaps the last Star Realm test. Or perhaps a test of his own making? Benny couldn't decide. Test or not, Benny remained curious about his ride. How can such a fragile-looking pod withstand rocket liftoff, let alone a punch through an interdimensional portal? And I hope Pup considered how much water pressure there must be at the bottom of the ocean. Does he know about crush depth? Honestly, Benny, the fact that you know about crush depth is rather impressive for your brain, your age. Bella reassured Benny. The pod's shell is made of pure hydrogen extracted from the center of Pup's star. The hydrogen has been bonded into an indestructible elastic material. The strength of the bubble shell is not a problem. Not the problem, Betty repeated. What is the problem if it's not the bubble pod? Gravitational force, G-force, is the problem. Once you punch through to the bottom of the ocean, you'll be swept up in a whirlpool. The spin exerts force upward of 10 Gs. 6 Gs can be fatal, but of course Pup says he's devised a solution. It's just never been tested before. You'll be the first. I'm getting reassured. Every single moment this is talked about. Pup had already pulled his solution out of his pouch and laid it on the ground. The solution was a zip-up plastic bag in the shape of a person. Benny hoped the bag was made of the same material as the bubble pod. Benny wasn't crazy about being the first and wanted Bella to provide a little bit more reassurance. I would like that too. I don't really want to end this book with Benny dying in a whirlpool. That would be depressing. Even though I'm first, you know the suit is perfectly safe. It's a sure thing, right? It's almost certainly a sure thing, Bella answered. If something were to go disastrously wrong, I'm sure Pup will find a way to fix it. Benny scratched his head in total confusion. He was familiar with time loops because he liked to watch sci-fi shows. Bella's rather non-reassuring reassurance made Benny wonder if he might not be caught in a time loop. Maybe he'd been smashed, crushed, squashed and splattered 100 times before, as Pup experimented to find a successful vehicle to get him home. In sci-fi shows, those caught in the loops always found a way out. Benny was confident that, in time, Pup would find a solution for him. Now that's a jump of logic. Oh yeah, I must, like, if something's gone wrong, then Pup might have already done this, and oh god, then Benny can calmly think about many ways that he might have died already and be okay with it. Bonkers. This child is bonkers. As Benny zipped himself into the plastic bag suit, Pup attached a small hose to a nozzle on it. The bag began to inflate. Benny felt like he was becoming one of those inflatable balloon characters at the Thanksgiving parade. His feelings soon became reality. He was floating up in the air, and Bella and Pup were manipulating the ropes to guide him to the pod. That's terrifying also. Pup looked to be having fun, while Benny flying Benny like a kite. Benny yelled out, "Goodbye!" but was certain the two dogs couldn't hear him. It didn't really matter, as Benny had already said his goodbyes. Once inside the bubble pod, Benny looked down. Bella and Pup had released the tethers, and were now scrambling around like a race car pit crew. Pup grabbed a hose and attached its nozzle to the rocket booster, and the other end of the hose ran to a large cylindrical tank with the words "liquefied helium" stenciled on it. Bella was standing at the tank, turning a large valve. The hose flattened as the liquid helium flowed through it. Benny could feel the booster rocket below him rumble. A frozen mist poured off the booster, just as if Benny was sitting on a large pillar of dry ice. The mist covered Bella and Pup, and Benny felt alone. He quickly shook off the feeling of loneliness, recalling the amazing adventure he'd just had. He looked up at the ocean above, smiled to himself, and thought, "Off into the wild blue yonder." The rocket lifted off slowly, then accelerated at an incredible rate. Benny was compressed in his bag suit to the bottom of the bubble pod. So far, so good, Benny thought. He wasn't being crushed in an instant. Benny was slammed to the top of the pod. It had impacted with the bottom of the ocean. The bag suit was holding, but the pressure inside was rising. Benny was certain he was seconds away from being crushed when the pressure dropped. He'd punched his way back to Earth. The whirling started right away. Benny was pinned to the side of the pod, caught in an underwater tornado. He could feel the G-force increase with every spin. He wondered, if he had a G-force meter, what would the reading be? Along with the G-force pressure, Benny was becoming dizzy. He could take on even the spinniest ride at the Prickly Pear annual fair, but this spin was beyond any ride. He felt himself begin to black out, and his last thought was, I guess I won't remember any of this when I wake up in my next time loop. Oh, Benny, you have such an active imagination. Benny came to. He was still in his pod, but now he was hanging upside down. He was dizzy and everything around him was white. The only place Benny was certain he wasn't in a time loop. Time had moved ahead, but he just didn't know where he'd moved ahead to. As Benny's head cleared, a blur of colours emerged out of the whiteness below him. The colours began to take on the shapes of sea creatures. The first creature to come in full focus was a long, tentacled jellyfish. This time, Benny felt no panic, only amusement, even though the jellyfish was larger than the jellyfish that ate the earth. Pup's playing a trick, and it's not even all dogs howling night, Benny thought. Soon the jellyfish was joined by a smiling giant sea turtle and a bulging-eyed yellow and green-striped tropical fish. The fish was blowing bubbles out of its mouth. This can't possibly be, Benny thought to himself. He recognized the two creatures. When a purple octopus wearing a red bow tie appeared, Benny realized what could not be was. Below was none other than Mr. Juggles with his colorful beach balls. Benny was hanging upside down, staring down at the bottom of his bathtub. Bella had explained to Benny that measurements were different in the star realm than on Earth. Benny hadn't fully understood Bella, but now, being in a bubble the size of a pea, he did. Benny reassured himself that everything would be fine. After all, Pup wasn't Pup a master of popping things to full size? The drop that held Benny fell, but never reached the pot. Instead, the bubble pod drifted up out of the tub, down the hall, and into Benny's room. Suspended a foot over Benny's bed, the pod popped, and Benny dropped, full size, into his bed. If Pup had planned the entire trip home, it was executed perfectly. Except for one small hitch. Benny's head was at the foot of his bed. Completely exhausted, Benny sat up and flipped around. His head sank into his pillow, and he instantly fell asleep. Wild. Wild. What a wild journey back this boy has taken. And straight back into his bed like nothing happened. No one will ever know that he was the first man in the Dog Star Realm. Chapter 20, The Space Race. When Benny woke up in his bed on Monday morning, his head was still foggy with a deep sleep. As the fog cleared, Benny dismissed any thought that his nightmare adventures was merely a dream. He was certain it was real. It happened in... Kindle! Kindle, you are the one thing that I haven't changed. A lot of my stream setup has changed, but you're the one thing that's happened, that's errored on me twice now. Come on, behave. We're near the end of the story. Behave! How many chapters do we have left, actually? Just out of curiosity. Well, we only have the epilogue left. Nice. we are having a couple of technical difficulties. Definitely not the technical difficulties I expected. The technical difficulties. Right. No. So this is technically the last chapter. Oh no. It happened in real life. He was also certain no one, other than Paco and Dinah, would believe him if he were to tell them about it. Probably. Smart. Just then, Dinah came into his room. She'd been crying. Bella and Pup left. Pup woke me up last night and told me, Bella, Pup, fly, bye, fly, vroom, vroom, zoom, my God, that's a mouthful. Then he consoled his little sister. Don't worry, Bella and Pup are with Max. They're all fine. Their world is wonderful, so you don't need to worry about them. They have an observatory where dogs check on their people on Earth. Its telescope is amazing. It looks like a humongous jellyfish. Dinah's face brightened. Look, there on your desk. Pup left me goggles. Sure enough, on his desk were the pink goggles Dinah had worn on their trip to Alta Vista. Next to the goggles sat Benny's engineering cap from the Star Realm. He didn't leave you the goggles, but a funny baseball cap instead, Dinah added. Her goggles were already on. Dinah tossed the cap to Benny, who was still in bed. I wonder if the light thing still works on his cap on Earth, or if that was just a dog Star Realm magic. When Benny caught the cap, he noticed an embellishment. The cap had a pin on it. The pin had a depiction of a rainbow of colours converging behind the moon, and only a single colour emerging and heading back the other way. The pin was a reminder of something Benny needed no reminding of. The Around the Moon race was tonight at 7:22 p.m. Looking at the pin, Benny couldn't help but notice the colour of the single emerging streak. It matched Max's fur exactly. If Pup had left the pin, Benny thought it was a good omen. Pup knows things. Mum and Dad were extremely upset by the disappearance of the two dogs. After dropping off Benny and Dinah at school, instead of going straight to work, Dad drove all around the neighbourhood for 2 hours hunting for Bella and Pup. Aww, this poor man. He's so sad about losing his other dog, and then he actually bonded with these two. Aww. Mum spent that time on the phone calling the Prickly Pear Police and the Animal Welfare Society to alert them to the missing dogs. She posted a message on the Prickly Pear's town's website asking anyone to be on the lookout for the dogs. There was nothing to be done but wait. Back home from school that afternoon, Benny tried to convince his parents that the dogs were perfectly fine and that it was pointless to look for them. You're not going to find them here on Earth. It's out of the question, he told Dad. The rest of the afternoon passed with no sign of the dogs. As the sun set, it grew colder outside. Mum even started crying. Aww, these poor parents. This is why they should have bought another dog after Max died. Benny reassured his parents that the dogs were fine. I can even prove it. Come outside and look up at Mars at 7:22 p.m. That's exactly when the Around the Moon race starts. Max is in it. You'll see. Benny's parents saw no harm in going outside to view the stars. They reasoned that if an imaginary star could help Benny deal with the disappearance of Bella and Pup, that was a good thing. If we're out stargazing, I'll make a fire in the chimney, Dad said. Almost every house in the desert town had a chimney. Chimeneas are great. Fire pits and chimeneas. Wonderful things. Get them on, get blankets, get hot chocolates, and you're in for a wonderful evening. An upright fire pit on the back patio. As Dad headed out to the back door, Benny raced out the front to go get Paco and Guapo. Although, don't do what my family did and put things you shouldn't in said chimenea, like magazines that produce funny coloured smoke and flames and probably was potentially poisonous. Who knows? The Smith family, my friends. Do not trust them around a fire. When Benny returned, Dad already had the fire going. Mum and Dinah were standing near the chimenea to keep warm. Benny, Paco and Guapo joined them. All were looking up at the clear, star-filled desert sky. It was around 7:10 p.m. and a crescent moon had just risen. Benny got a stick and poked the coals in the chimenea. He watched the sparks rise into the night sky. Dad pointed up at the brightest star. That's Sirius! It's also called the Dog Star. It's a white star, but Earth's atmosphere acts as a prism and separates the light into varying colours, so it's sometimes nicknamed Rainbow Star. That constellation in the sky next to the Dog Star is called Orion the Hunter. Benny added to Dad's lessons. Rigel is always at Orion's right hand. There's no more courageous dog than Rigel. Except for Max. Orion is much more than a hunter. He is a protector. The race start time drew closer, and Benny took Dinah's hands. Watch now, over there, by Mars. It's the reddish-looking star, but it's really a planet. That's where the race starts. Everyone turned towards Mars as the clock struck 7:22 p.m. The entire night sky lit up with hundreds of silvery streaks shooting out from Mars towards the newly risen crescent moon. Those are the greyhounds, Benny exclaimed to Dinah. They're the fastest, but the hard part is circling the moon. Some of the greyhounds were fading out, and most were being passed by a silky streak. Here comes Capella, Benny announced. If she wins, it'll be the 5th year in a row. The two streaks followed behind Capella, racing neck and neck, a white one and a red one. There's Jess and Max, Benny cheered. Jess is the best frisbee catcher ever. The two fastest greyhounds made it to the moon first and disappeared behind it. Benny waited for the greyhounds to swing back out, and when they didn't, Benny gave his verdict. The greyhounds went too fast. They didn't make the turn and are probably tumbling into space. I hope they have some way to get rescued. Next, Capella darted behind the moon, with Max fast on her heels. Jumping Jess was no longer a factor in the race. She'd veered off course and instead of going behind the moon, had jumped over it. That's a disqualification. Damn, Jessie got them jumps, Benny pointed out. Benny held his breath, counting seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Capella emerged from behind the moon, but she was no longer a silky streak. She was wavering and shaking. Benny resumed his role as race commentator. Capella must have fallen in the shallow pool at the last 12-foot jump. She's trying to shake the water out of her long fur. Silky fur is a disadvantage when it's soaked. Capella was regaining her speed when red streaking Max flew out from behind the moon. His acceleration past Capella was so great. The silken windhound lost her balance and tumbled down towards Earth. Max raced back past Mars and off into the Earth's northern horizon. Benny and Paco cheered together. Dinah was holding hands with Benny and Paco, jumping up and down and shouting, "Go, Max! Go, Max! Max wins! Max wins!" His parents stood there, speechless, dumbfounded. They couldn't believe what they'd just witnessed. After several minutes, Dad asked Mum, Can a shooting star make a 180-degree turn? Mum simply replied, Well, Max was always very agile. I love you, Mum. You know how it is. And there's the hat with the extra pin. And Max is winning Star Street. Yeah. Epilogue. Last drink. Drink me water. First thing Tuesday morning, Dad drove to the Animal Welfare Centre. He told himself it was to double check if Bella and Pup had been found, but he'd accepted they'd gone from this world. It really was a feeling from his childhood that drew him there, a sense that there was still some magic in the world. After he asked if there had been any news about the two dogs, one of the society staff members looked rather puzzled. No, those two dogs you've been looking for haven't been found. There's something odd, though. Last night, a puppy showed up at the door. It had the strangest markings around his eyes, almost like goggles. It had a single heart-shaped patch on its chest. Benny's dad asked if he could see the puppy. When he picked it up, the puppy wildly wagged his tail, his curved tail in the air, like a cavalryman charging up with a saber. Dad went home with a new pup. Bella's got a song by Benny's mom wrote a song about Bella. She dances into the night, the brightest belle of the ball. She moves across the sky, the moon lights her way. See her step, see her spin, see her leap with pure delight. Full moon night, if it's clear, you may even bear her call. She plays among the stars with countless friends old and new, and if they're so inclined, a shooting star show for you. See them race, see them chase, see them streak across the sky. Moonless night, if it's clear, you may even see tails too. I wish I knew the tune. I'd love to sing it for you, but I have no idea what the tune would be for that. But it is very nice. Ah! Well, there's the tune! Problem is I technically I can read music, but I can't, like, know it in my head what the actual tune is for it. He dances into the night, the brightest belle of the ball. Oh, and with the I need to zoom in on it. No, I don't want the end. I want to figure this out. Let me zoom in. I might have to take a screenshot and then zoom in. Let me do the thing. Snipping tool. Da-da-da. And it's got a lot of little doodles that are on it. It's very cute. So let's. Can I zoom in on this? No, I can't. Let's get this into Paint. Microsoft Paint to the rescue. Make this super big for me to read. Okay. So I took GCSE music, so I vaguely know. So I don't know the pitches, they're definitely not going to be right, but at least I can get the timing right. She dances into the night. No, I'm not going to get this right. Cause these are like 4, I don't know. No. I'm gonna give up on that. I wish I could. There we go! It is done! This is... That was... Dog Star Night! by Kenneth James. Nope. I didn't want to move that. I want to move... Oh lord, there's so many things. This. I want to move this. Hashtag ad. Every stream I have is a hashtag ad, whether it be for me or for someone else. But today, it is an ad for Kenneth James and Dog Star Night. A adventure into space, where dogs sit and wait and watch their owners from space. Where a small child learns to stand up to bullies. And where we just have some wild stuff going on. For the sake of the clip I'm going to make of this, because that's what I do for keeping track of these books, I have read this whole book on my stream, and there is a playlist you can watch. There will be a link to that in the description of the clip. And that is it for the clip. Cool, I'll just stop that there. Yay. But that's good. We read another book. So, should I tell you about the book I'm going to read next? It was wild. That book was wild, though. It was nothing like I expected. I mean, I have a playlist on here called 10,000 Books, which is where I've been, like I said, been keeping track. So, the next book we're gonna read is called the Marcus's Mixed Adventure. And because we've sat and read a book about dogs, and I thought, to balance this out, we should read a book. I don't have the cover. 1 second, let me go get the cover. We should read a book about me having scuff. Download. Save. Pictures. About cats! So this is what we're reading next week. It is Marcus's Misadventure, Catatonic, Book 1. Which is a comedy. Yeah, what scuff? What are you on about? There is no scuff. There's never been scuff on this channel, ever. But this is a comedy book. I read about 5% of this book when I was sort of scanning it over to make sure it was like good enough for the channel, etc. And it got to some wonderful, wonderful puns, and I was like, yes, correct. This book is for me. So, let me read you the preview. Nope, wrong. I didn't want to hide that. Yeah, cool. Let me read you the blurb, so you can have an idea of what we're getting into next week. When Marcus Kyle found an old book, CAT Tricks in his employer's archive, he thought it would be good for a laugh, and maybe help teach his cat something. But the type of tricks in this book includes... The type of tricks this book includes are more alchemical than entertaining. After an explosion, he and his fiancée, Alana Kim, and their cat Purloin have their lives altered forever as a new world of magic and mystery unveils itself before them. With every discovery, more questions arise, and hints at a darker destiny unfurl. What changes did the accident force upon them? How does their employer, Wonderland Pharmaceuticals, tie into this? And most important of all, did that cat just talk? Catatonic is a must-read for cat lovers and fantasy lovers alike, full of humour, groan-inducing puns, and feline hijinks. Now, doesn't that sound like a good time? I am very much looking forward to this book. When I got contacted about this book from the author, and they were like, yeah, I've got this one book. They gave me 2 books, and one was like, I've got this, like, I think it's like a time travel bar one. And then this other one about cats, and I was like, what is this one about cats? Explain more. And it's perfect. I think it's written for me. I can't wait. So that's what we're reading next week. It's gonna be amazing. I can't wait. Oh, but that's it for today. How long have we been going? Oh, we went over 2 minutes. We went over 2 hours. Oh well. This is why we stream a bit earlier on Sunday, so I can go over 2 hours. Because I was a fool yesterday. I actually stayed up late playing video games for once in my life. This is probably the first time I've done it since, like, ever. Because I got to the end of the latest Final Fantasy expansion. And it was very emotional. And I cried a lot. But it was amazing. And I can't wait to get to more tastier plot on stream. Yeah, bar time travel. The other book this guy's got, he has potentially giving me... This is page. Giving me permission for is One for the Road, which is... Let me double check it. So a guy wakes confused and alone in a small bar in the ruins of a crumbling bar, and it's about like it's a strange shape-shifting bar, and he has to try to get out before dawn. That is what the other book he sent me was, which we'll get around to. But I don't want to. I've got some other ones that I'm considering beforehand. Although I haven't had a response from one guy. How dare you. I'm going to give them free publicity! And they do not speak to me. But it's fine. We'll get things figured out. We got Catatonic to get through first. Which isn't too big. This book was 169 pages, and Catatonic is about 225. So we'll probably have maybe 4 or 5 streams of Catatonic before I need to think of a new book, so that's fine. Got loads. Now I very quickly need to get my schedule ready for next week because I'm very organized. Well, to be fair, I'm not terribly bad organization. It's just today I did a lot of changing, because you know how, like, you probably noticed in chat the delay between you chatting and my chat appearing, and then sometimes if there's a lot of chat it just all appears at once rather than, you know, all together. So I've done a lot of changes and stuff for this stream, and you're coming through on the chat pretty good time wise, so that's good. I am in fact streaming on Tuesday. So my next stream will be Monday. I'm gonna do another focus stream again because I would like to have streaming content out there, and I would like to make progress on my own projects. So that's how I do it. So we'll have another capybara and focus stream on Monday. Then on Tuesday, we're gonna be playing Strange Horticulture, which is a comfy game about plants and a murder mystery. So that should be really cool. I'm quite looking forward to it. I'm a little worried that my brain will not be good enough. That I will not be able to figure it out on my own. That I will not be smart enough. But I guess we just find out, and if I'm not smart enough, then either you help me or Google helps me. Jan, what's the Monday next week? And then on Sunday we're gonna read Catatonic. January 23rd. Yeah. That's the plan for next week. Let me just have a quick change of slides, because my schedule on my end is goodbye slides are out of date. We can't have that. Can't have that. Where is it? January 23rd. Okay. Right. Cool. Yeah, that's true. I shouldn't trust you. You want to see me fail, so... I'll just have to... Big brain. Big sweaty brain. Big wrinkled brain. But anyway, that is for Tuesday's me's problem. Today's me's problem is the fact that the stream is over! Thank you for being the chat palm star. Thank you to anyone who lurked. Thank you to anyone who watches the VOD. I appreciate it all. I don't say this one often, and I really should. Please leave likes and please subscribe. I have a new subscription alert, which I need a sound for, admittedly, but I have one, and well, if I don't get subscriptions, I don't get to see it. So tune in at some point and subscribe, okay? That's all from me. I'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock for some Project Focus time. Goodbye. I will bring my water bottle. No worries.